Here are the top stories for today, December 18, 2020. Two American biopharmaceuticals expressed their readiness to supply the country with their potential COVID-19 vaccine. Malacanang says the president does not see any major lapse in the negotiations with Pfizer. The country's economy is already picking up according to NEDA. And a drive-in cinema is set to open in Batac, Ilocos Norte. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, said two other U.S. biopharmaceutical firms are ready to supply the country with COVID-19 vaccine. In a statement, Romualdez said that aside from Pfizer and Moderna and Arcturus are ready to supply the Philippines anywhere with between 4 to 25 million doses. The vaccines will be available in the third quarter of next year should the Philippine government find their proposals acceptable. Romualdez said he is hoping that the government will consider the promising candidates of Moderna and Arcturus in the country's pool of anti-COVID vaccines. Malacanang is saying there is no major lapse in the negotiations with Pfizer on the purchase of the COVID-19 vaccine. This after Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin said someone had dropped the ball. The details from Janice Cabe.
Negotiations are still on track when it comes to the purchase of COVID-19 vaccine with Pfizer. This is stressed by Malacanang after Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin Jr. disclosed that someone had dropped the ball. Locsin explained that he and the Philippine ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, had arranged for the delivery of vaccines with the help of U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo as early as July. But he did not mention who he was referring to that botched the deal. Senator Panfilo Lacson later pointed out that it was Health Secretary Francisco Duque. He said Duque failed to submit a confidentiality data agreement which is needed for the purchase of the vaccines. Duque denied that he did not act quick enough in preparing the necessary documentation. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, meanwhile, said the president ordered Duque to answer the allegations. He also assured that the conflicting statements of Locsin and Duque would not affect the country's purchase of the vaccine.
I think from the overall demeanor of the president, wala naman po siyang nakikita na major lapse dahil ang pinag-uusapan po ay kontrata at hindi naman abogado po si Secretary Duque. No? Mukha naman po imposible talaga makakuha tayo ng Pfizer as of January kasi yung January deliverables nila completely paid for na by the rich countries. So let's not speculate anymore. At ang importante ay patuloy po ang pag-uusap at mukhang makakakuha naman talaga tayo ng Pfizer anytime between second and third quarter of next year.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Romualdez assures that the Philippines is still on track with its negotiations with Pfizer. He said the delivery would be most likely by mid-2021 once Secretary Carlito Galvez gives the order. Galvez, during the press briefing, said the government is targeting to roll out the vaccination as early as March 2021. He said Chinese pharmaceutical firm Sinovac and Russia's Gamaleya will be the first companies to deliver a bulk of government-procured COVID-19 vaccines in the first quarter of 2021. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
As the world is ramping up on the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines, the Philippines is also negotiating with various suppliers to ensure that the Filipino people will be inoculated soon. While some are expressing doubts on getting the vaccine, the president himself said he is willing to be inoculated first to convince more Filipinos to do so. Should the president be the first or should he err on the side of caution?
Siguro kasi sila ang kwan eh. Sila ang matataas sa din. Kumpiyansa sila mga tao. Tingnan lang kung maganda ang resulta, bakit hindi gawin?
Kung maging compatible lang po sa ating president, so yun po, mas magiging mataas yung kumpiyansa ng mamamayan to about doon. Parang hindi eh. Kasi unang-una yung kumakalat nga na yung bakuna daw, meron daw microchips na pwedeng makaapekto sa atin para pokontrolin daw tayo ng US. Ayun yung ano ko. Siguro maraming hindi sasang-ayon na magpabakuna yung mga tao. Yung maging resulta doon sa pagpapaturok sa Pangulo natin o kung sino man yung mga ano na dyan, siguro maaring doon sila babase.
Okay lang yun kasi po it's proved na yung gamot, hindi kayo magda-doubt na may effect siya na negative.
Para sa akin, mas magandang sila na mauna para makita yung kung ano ang epekto talaga. yun yung aking ano.
Para sa akin, okay lang naman na para mapakita sa mga tao na talagang yung bakuna. At least kung sila mauuna, para magkakaroon ng tiwala yung mga tao na talaga okay na yung bakuna. Siyempre, pinag-aralan nila yan eh. Alam nila kung ano yung magiging epekto sa tao. Kaya sa tingin ko, wala namang masama epekto.
Dining out is now allowed in restaurants. However, the Department of Trade and Industry emphasized that minimum health protocols must be observed, which includes proper physical distancing among customers. Employees must also ensure that their food handling undergoes the safest health standard. If inside the mall, there will be marshals who will monitor the compliance with health protocols. With the gradual reopening of the economy, the Department of Trade and Industry partners with Department of Tourism, Department of Labor and Employment, and the local government to ensure the safety of the people while also helping business establishments recover. The DTI highly encourages the use of a Stay Safe app, which is authorized by the IATF and DOH for contact tracing. The department also assures there is no price increase this year for Noche Buena products.
Kaya nga po ating ina-encourage din ating mga kababayan na kung sila ay let's say magsasalo-salo, a very small group, let's say group of 5, group of 6, ay maganda sa restaurants na rin para matulungan makaangat uli ang ekonomiya. We're fortunate na yung mga manufacturers, sila po yung mga napakiusapan natin early on, last November pa lang, na itong taon na to, huwag silang magtaas ng presyo. Talagang ipagpatuloy lamang yung pagsunod dito sa ating health protocol dahil para sa ating kaligtasan po yun. Hindi po para sa iba, kundi para sa atin din. At kaya importante ho na mag-enjoy tayo na in a safe way. At saka wag po natin kalimutan yung buy local, go local po tayo.
10 point-to-point provincial bus routes will open on Monday, December 21. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board say there will be no price hikes. They also remind bus operators and drivers to strictly follow the 7 commandments on public transportation, such as wearing a face mask and shield, no talking and no eating while inside the bus. Bus drivers must also follow the proper ventilation, regular disinfection, and 1 seat apart rule. They should bar passengers with COVID-19 symptoms. The 10 point-to-point bus routes starting Monday are Clark, Pampanga to SM North EDSA, Clark, Pampanga to Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal, Clark, Pampanga to Lubao, Pampanga, Clark, Pampanga to Dagupan, Clark, Pampanga to Subic, Naiya PITX to Baguio City, Batangas City to Ortigas, Batangas City to PITX, Lipa City to Ortigas, and Lipa City to PITX. Still to come, the country's economy is already picking up according to NEDA. And Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo orders a speedy investigation on the killing of Dr. Mary Rose Sancelan and her husband. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Malacanang on Thursday shrugged off the call made by Southeast Asian parliamentarians on the Duterte administration to stop red-tagging Macabayan bloc lawmakers in the Philippines. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque dismissed the call, saying they are not representative of the views of the overwhelming majority of parliamentarians. Charles Santiago, a Malaysian member of parliament and chair of the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights, or APHR, described the red tagging as an attempt to silence political opposition and undermine democracy and directly put people's lives at risk. The APHR chief expressed his view amid Duterte and other government officials' continued linking of the Macabayan bloc to the CPP and PANDF. The APHR is a collective of lawmakers from Southeast Asia working to improve human rights responses and justice in the region. Duterte earlier denied red-tagging Macabayan lawmakers, insisting that he was identifying them as legal fronts. Malacanang is expecting law enforcers to carry out a speedy investigation into the killing of a city health officer from Gihulngan City in Negros Oriental and her husband. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque assured that the killing of City Health Officer Dr. Mary Rose Sancelan and her husband Edwin is already being investigated by the Philippine National Police. Reports show that the couple were gunned down by still unidentified persons late Tuesday afternoon. Sancelan also served as incident commander of Gihulngan's interagency task force. The couple was near their home in Carmenville subdivision in Barangay Poblacion in Gihulngan when two persons on a motorcycle shot them and fled at around 5:20 p.m. They were brought to the Gihulngan District Hospital but were declared dead on arrival by the attending physician. For his part, Negros Oriental Governor Roel de Gamo has ordered an investigation on the killing of Sancelan and her husband. This as medical practitioners in the province have condemned the act as they seek justice for the victims. In an open letter posted on Facebook, the Negros Oriental Medical Society described the death of the doctor as a tragic example of the devaluation of the life of a doctor in public service. Sancelan was allegedly a spokesperson of the New People's Army and was in a purported hit list of a vigilante group, which police probers said does not exist. A town in Mountain Province has banned the holding of wedding celebrations amid efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19. More on this and other news from the provinces from Marita Mawahe.
The municipality of Sadanga in Mountain Province has issued a moratorium on wedding celebrations to keep the town free from COVID-19, especially during the holiday season. Mayor Gabino Gangangan said the recent wedding celebrations in the municipality led to an influx of relatives and visitors from areas that have a high risk of COVID-19 infection, like Benguet, Baguio City, Tabuk City, Tinglayan, Incalinga, and Metro Manila. An attendee later tested positive for COVID-19, placing the town in jeopardy of having a case. Sadanga continues to maintain its coronavirus-free status until now, together with the town of Barlig, also in Mountain Province. In Bacolod City, face-to-face caroling is prohibited during the Christmas holidays, while exchanging of gifts is discouraged as part of the city's continuing response against COVID-19. These are part of the guidelines on Christmas and New Year gatherings and other merry-making activities ordered by Mayor Evelio Leonardia on Wednesday night. Traditional caroling, or the act of going house to house to sing Christmas carols, is also prohibited. For persons or establishments intending to conduct gift giving, they must ensure that standard health protocols such as wearing a face mask and face shields and strict physical distancing are strictly observed. Meanwhile, Eastern Visayas has 45 authorized retailers and 4 dealers of firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices this holiday season. The number of retailers and dealers that secured special permits for this holiday season is lowered compared to last year's 56 and 6 respectively due to the ongoing health crisis. The PNP conducts a regular inspection of establishments in line with the intensified crackdown against the manufacture and sale of illegal firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
Fewer Filipinos are experiencing involuntary hunger due to efforts to reopen the economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Malacanang made the statement after a social weather station survey found that 16%, or an estimated 4 million families, experienced involuntary hunger at least once in the past 3 months. The November hunger rate is below the record high 30.7%, or around 7.6 million families in September 2020. However, it is double the pre-pandemic 8.8%, or 2.1 million Filipino families in December 2019. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque admitted that it was still sad to know that millions of Filipinos remain hungry. Roque warned that Metro Manila and other areas in the country could still revert to stricter community quarantine should COVID-19 cases rise. The economy is expected to grow gradually in the last quarter of 2020 amid continued easing of quarantine restrictions. National Economic Development Authority Director General Carl Kenvic Chua said the last quarter of the year is seasonally the biggest contributor of annual growth because of the Christmas holidays. The last quarter growth is seen to pave the way for a positive output starting in the first quarter of 2021. Chua said their projections are based on the assumption that the COVID-19 vaccine will begin to be available in the second half of 2021. GDP in the first 9 months this year posted a 10% contraction because of the pandemic. Full-year contraction is seen to be around negative 8.5 to negative 9.5% this year. But economic managers forecast recovery of between 6.5 to 7.5% next year and a higher 8 to 10% GDP for 2022. Up next, low-income families in Soksargen get Bayanihan 2 cash aid. And a drive-in cinema is set to open in Batac, Ilocos Norte. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Nearly 4,000 families in Socsargen have received financial assistance from the Department of Social Welfare and Development under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2. The DSWD Region 12 said they have released around 19.6 million pesos in grants as part of the emergency subsidy program amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 4,000 household beneficiaries received one-time cash assistance of 5,000 pesos each. The release of livelihood assistance grants under Bayanihan 2 is ongoing in the region's 4 provinces and 5 cities. The recipients are marginalized rural workers and micro-entrepreneurs who were also hit hard by the COVID-19 crisis. Meanwhile, over 92,000 displaced workers in Bicol on Thursday have received 5,000 pesos each under the government's cash assistance programs. The Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, said nearly 30,000 potential beneficiaries affected by the pandemic and the 3 typhoons that hit Bicol have yet to get their cash aid. As of 1 p.m. on December 17, recipients of the Tupad program reached 56,000. Recipients of the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures, or CAMP, had reached 35,000, and OFW beneficiaries of Abot Kamay sa Pagtulong, or AKAP, reached over 1,200. The application portal for financial assistance remains open. More residents in Marawi received financial aid to start their own business. The details from Christine Lin Viajante.
About 250 internally displaced persons in Marawi City received 25,000 pesos each from a non-government organization. Through the task force Bangon Marawi, the NGO identified the beneficiaries who deserve the cash grant.
Ito ay several meetings na pinag-usapan at tinitingnan natin kung sino yung nararapat na bigyan ng tulong.
The NGO's Community Development Officer expounded.
Partnership po ito ni Rahima. It comes with 2 tranches. Yung first tranche is 3,000. Kasali na dito po yung training nila. Saka ngayon, yung second tranche it is around 22,000. Sa DTI, ito po ay booster capital. Yung existing po na mga starter kits na binigay ng DTI, si Save the Children po yung nag-fund as a booster capital po, around 25,000 din.
Norlaini, a housewife, expressed gratitude for the trainings and benefits she received under the Rahima Peace Rivers Cooperative.
Itong opportunity na ito ay malaking tulong sa aming kababayan na walang trabaho. Salamat!
Rohania, a DTI beneficiary, urged her fellow IDPs to utilize the government's help to rise up above the challenges faced during this trying time.
Dapat matyaga sila at saka huwag silang mahiya sa lahat ng mga trabaho pang maghanap buhay. Mag-sacrifice lahat yung anong gagawin nila.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lin Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
Members of the Macabayan bloc were accused of intruding into the functions of the judiciary after they called for an investigation on the warrants filed against militants. State Solicitor Gabriel Villanueva, Office of the Solicitor General spokesperson for the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, said the Macabayan bloc's resolution does not fall under the power of inquiry of the legislative branch. Villanueva said determination of probable cause in the issuance of the search warrant falls under the judiciary. He also said the resolution is not in aid of legislation but only to attack the judge and disrespect the rule of law. Bayan party list representatives were on a media blitz to discredit Judge Villavert, who issued search warrants on offices of militant groups. These led to the arrest of Manila Today journalist Lady Ann Salem and several union organizers of labor group Defend Jobs Philippines, who are reportedly officials of the Metro Manila Regional Party Committee of the CPP, NPA, NDF. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI, has recognized outstanding health workers at the Get Bayanihan Kalusugan, a national tribute to health frontliners amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The business group identified Dr. Saturnino Javier of the Makati Medical Center and Sherazade Edsa Ibrahim a nurse of the Cotabato Regional and Medical Center as top awardees for the event held on December 12. Javier was recognized for his exemplary performance and commitment as Medical Director, Interim Co-Chief Executive Officer, and Chief of the Cardiology Section. Ibrahim was acknowledged as she developed training designs and conducted lectures and trainings on the prevention and control of COVID-19 to different schools, offices, communities, and groups. For the team category, PCCI gave the top award to National Kidney and Transplant Institute COVID-19 Response Team. A total of 1.4 million pesos were given to the winners of the Get Bayanihan Kalusugan. Farmers in Ilocos Norte are encouraged to plant more vegetables to help increase its supply in Metro Manila. Vegetable farmers are looking forward to selling their variety of crops direct to consumers in Metro Manila through the Department of Agriculture's Kadiwa ni Ani at Kita. Edwin Carino, head of the Sustainable Development Council in Ilocos Norte, said talks are underway between the province and the DA to organize vegetable growers to supply lowland vegetables in Metro Manila. Due to the series of typhoons that hit many regions in the country, Carino said this is the right time for Ilocos farmers to expand their market outside the province. The Kadiwa ni Ani at Kita is a collaborative project of the DA, Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG, and Food Terminal Incorporated. This serves as a direct link between the farmers and fisherfolk and the consuming public. It is back to the cinema for moviegoers in Ilocos Norte as the provincial government opened a drive-in theater on Thursday. At least 40 participants joined the dry run of the drive-in cinema at the Imelda Cultural Park in Batac City. The theater featured Pintakasi, an indie film produced by Senator Amy Marcos. It was awarded as Best New Wave Full-Length Indie Film during the 37th Metro Manila Film Festival. The activity is a joint project of the Ilocos Norte Tourism Office and Batac City Government. Provincial Tourism Officer Ayan Riraque said the dry run of the drive-in cinema hopes to provide free entertainment to residents while trying to live under the new normal. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. 2 American biopharmaceuticals expressed their readiness to supply the country with their potential COVID-19 vaccine. Malacanang says the president does not see any major lapse in the negotiations with Pfizer. The country's economy is already picking up according to NEDA. And a drive-in cinema is set to open in Batac, Ilocos Norte. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 7 more days to go before Christmas, and that's roughly about a week. And as the year comes to a close, we definitely look back at the year that was. And although it is pretty challenging and very difficult, we have to learn our lessons from this year. It's designed to make us stronger, wiser, and definitely wisdom is just around the corner. So let's try to see the silver lining of everything and have a very happy holiday amidst all of the challenges. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe, happy holidays, and a happy weekend to everyone.